What's up, GamerDen fans, followers, and fanatics? It's TheShaunsie here, and we are here to talk about the Witchwood, which is Hearthstone's latest expansion, which is arriving this Thursday, April 24th, bringing with it 135 new cards. And not only that, but us standard players are very much looking forward to the rotation of a full set of cards, 3 expansions. That would be Whispers of the Old Gods, One Night in Karazhan, and Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, all rotating out of Standard, thus providing us a fresh new metagame and some really awesome space to creatively deck build and experience what just 4 sets are providing us. Those are Journey to Ungoro, Knights of the Frozen Throne, and Kobolds and Catacombs. So after doing a fair amount of research, watching YouTube videos, following some discussions on Reddit, I wanted to present to you the cards that I think you should be most excited about when you're opening up those new packs from a brand new expansion, whether or not you're a returning player or you've been playing for quite a while. There's some really cool cards that are coming up in this expansion, and when you are opening those packs, I want you to be excited about the cards that I'm about to show you, and also offer a little bit of insight as to why they're good and why you should be excited to play them, and why maybe you want to start crafting specific cards to build an archetype around them. One of those things about opening up card packs is opening up that legendary. Wow, legendary! And also seeing some of the cool epics that are a little bit harder to come by as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight some of the best legendaries that I think are hitting the table, and also some of the best epics, the cream of the crop in my opinion. So first up we have Archmage Erugal, and he reads, whenever you draw a minion, add a copy of it to your hand. It's a 2-cost minion that has 2 attack and 2 health. So this is a really important mage card in where mage might be headed. Maybe picking a little bit less spells or choosing more important spells to focus on in your mage deck, and instead playing more minions or maybe Spiteful Summoner to target the big daddy spells like Flame Strike and Meteor, to be able to pull a big minion after revealing the spell like Spiteful does. So, but how does Archmage Erugal tie into this all? Archmage Erugal is going to be giving you more value as you draw through your deck. It gives you more threats as the game goes on, and yes, he can be killed very easily, but even if you're playing him on turn 2, you're going to be drawing into some extra minions and just extra value overall. If you're playing an elemental mage, which seems to be kind of a thing that Blizzard is pushing with this expansion, an elemental minion focused deck, and try and get spell effects off of those elementals, Archmage Erugal seems like a really key component to this, because you're just going to get that extra value to keep up with your opponent or stay ahead of your opponent, because anytime you're drawing a minion, you've put that specific minion in your deck for its synergy or for its value, and you're going to be getting double that value anytime you draw into it. Now, Archmage Erugal seems to tie in very well with the Book of Specters, which is an epic card that deserves your attention 100%. If you open this card, Book of Specters, you are going to be happy. Now, it says, draw 3 cards, discard any spells drawn. Now, this is a 2-cost spell. You say, well, I'm a mage. I like to cast spells, and discarding the cards really sucks. Well, say you have about 8 spells in your deck. Trump did the math on this one. You're going to be getting a little over, you're going to be, even if you discard spells, you're going to be drawing into at least 2 cards that you're keeping in your pocket for the most part. Also, with Archmage Erugal, you are going to be drawing copies of any minions that you have. So you're generating really insane value for 2 mana. Which means Arcane Intellect is actually probably not going to see play in some of these decks, just because you're going to be saving a mana by playing Book of Specters. And Book of Specters, along with Archmage Erugal, is going to see competitive play, and you're going to really enjoy what you can do with the mana left over after you after you cast such a cheap spell like Book of Specters. Next on the list, we have the two sort of marquee cards for the Witchwood. We have Baku the Moon Eater and Gen Greymane, which encourage you or force you to build your deck with only odd cost cards or even cost cards for a start of game payoff. And both these cards are spectacularly interesting because they force creative deck building and they force you to focus in on where you want this added benefit of either an upgraded hero power for Baku or a cheaper hero power for Gen Greymane. Now, one thing to note about these and why I'm saying that you should get excited about them is because I think there will be decks that utilize these cards in a very powerful way for their effect right away. But one thing to note is that these cards are gaining interest as more cards are introduced into the pool, because it'll be 2 years until these cards are rotated out of standard play. And as we see more cards, odd cost or even cost, introduced to the game, these cards are going to see more play and get better. So do not dust these at all if you manage to pull one of these from a pack. These cards will see play right away. Maybe not be a blanket play across the board, but they will see more value and more play as time goes on and we see some more cards come out in the future. Now, one thing to note is that these effects are very powerful because they do not rely on you drawing this card. In fact, you don't want to draw Baku or Gen because they're kind of understated and they're just basically a flat minion with no immediate effect on the battlefield with a battle cry or a death rattle or a transform or discover. They're just a body. What you're really playing them for is you're playing them for their start of game effect. And the one that I'm leaning more towards as being a very exciting pull is Baku the Moon Eater, because as we've seen in a previous card, Justicar Trueheart, the upgraded hero power, just having that on turn 2, essentially, is a huge boon. Tank up will be the Warrior's upgraded effect, which gives you 4 armor, which is nothing to scoff at. You get 3 damage as the Hunter, straight to their face. The Warlock, you get to draw a card for free. You have a 2 power, 2 durability dagger to use as rogue. And these effects shouldn't be understated. They have an immediate impact on turn 2. I'm leaning more towards Baku with as far as sheer power. But Gen Greymane, I've started to see decks poke up focused on Paladin, maybe focused on Warlock, and I think that although not as splashy, Gen also promises some power as well. So look for these. They're the marquee cards of the set, and they'll pay dividends to your collection as time goes on. The next one up is something that I'm really excited about, bringing Tempo Warrior back with the Rush mechanic coming to the Witchwood. And the next legendary is Darius Crowley. He's a 5-mana, 4/4 warrior legendary. Let me pull him up here. And he has Rush, which means he essentially has charge, but he can only attack minions first. Now, if it attacks and kills a minion, it gets +2/+2. What you'll find with Darius Crowley is after you plop him on the board, you're actually, base level, you're going to attack into maybe a low minion that's sat around for a little bit, a low health minion. And then he'll sit on the board, and he'll essentially 2-for-1 some characters on the board. Or he'll threaten to go face after he hits 6 attack. Now, this card is one of the marquee cards in this sort of Rush Tempo Warrior that we're seeing. I love the Warrior class, and what we've seen so far in the past few months is just really shoddy deck power from the Warrior class. It does have a place with the Dead Man's Hand mill archetype, but we're going to be seeing Cold Light Oracle rotating out of Standard and moving to the Hall of Fame. And that's a really key card for that sort of mill warrior. So now Blizzard is printing some other cards that is taking it in a different direction, and Darius Crowley is going to be one of the splashiest cards in that. You also have some really solid cards like the Militia Commander at 4 cost. You have the Red Band Wasp, which seems okay. The Town Crier seems exceptionally good. It allows you to pull Darius Crowley. It allows you to pull the Militia Commander. And then the other card that sort of really ties it all together is one that I'm very excited for. It's just a common. Everyone's going to really get one of these. It's a Woodcutter's Axe. Woodcutter's Axe is a 2 mana, 2 attack, 2 durability weapon that says Death Rattle. Give +2/+1 to a random friendly rush minion. So if you'll imagine this, turn 1 you're playing Red Band Wasp. Turn 2 you're playing Woodcutter's Axe and you're trading into a minion, clearing their board. And then what you can do is turn 4 or 5, you can wait to essentially blow up your weapon and give that stat bonus to a rush minion that you have on the board. And it can attack immediately. And this is absolutely insane on Darius Crowley, and it won't be an uncommon play to see this happen. Because if they don't deal with Darius Crowley as a 6 attack, 5 health with the buff from the Woodcutter's Axe, he's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. Next up, we have a Priest Legendary, Chameleos, and this might be the coolest card in the set. It was shown by the Omni-Slash guys. This card is just a fun card, and it's going to be a splashy one when you open it because you're going to want to try it out immediately. But it's a 1 mana 1/1, but you can kind of ignore the stats because during your turn, and it's at the start of your turn, you are going to see a copy of a card that's in your opponent's hand, which is awesome for a couple reasons. One, it allows you access to play the cards that they've held on to for the long game. This is especially important during control matchups, when you can play their Death Knight, when you can play their bomb cards, and you can just get that extra value. Also, from the beginning of the game, it's offering you insight into what cards they can use against you. So every turn, you're going to see a card in their hand. It might be the same one. It might be a different one. Obviously, the smaller their hand size, the more specific or more repeats that you might see. But it allows you to play the cards if you have the mana. So you can become Frostlich Jaina, you can become Blood Reaver Gul'dan, you can become Deathstalker Rexxar, you can become Uther of the Even Blade. You can also cast their Polymorph on one of their minions. You can play a Void Lord if you're not playing Warlock. So honestly, I don't know if this is going to be a hugely competitive card, but it's going to be a fun one, and you're going to get value out of it, whether it's hand knowledge or whether it is a card that you didn't have access to at the beginning of the game or that's not in your deck. It offers a lot of opportunity for playing a fun game of Hearthstone and some opportunity for playing a competitive game of Hearthstone. But Chameleos is a card that you should be excited about. It is a very cool design space in the game. In Hearthstone right now, we don't have a way to look into another player's hand. I've played card games where you can look at their hand and pick cards and discard cards and things like that. And our only opportunity for this in recent years was something like Dirty Rat, where we would try and avoid powerful and potent battle cries by pulling that card out of their hand. We're not pulling anything here, we're just copying. But that knowledge can't be understated, that they could have a card in their hand and you just play around it. You wait to play a board of low health minions because you know they have Dustbreaker in their hand. Or you somehow have a dragon in your hand too as a priest, which isn't uncommon, and then you cast Dustbreaker on them. Seems like a very good card and a very fun card, so get excited when you open Chameleos. The Shaman class was looking exceptionally bad and weak in the past year of Hearthstone. Outside of some Jade play, outside of some Evolve play, which was kind of unpredictable, hard to control, very RNG based, we are now looking at the era of Shaman, I think, and two cards that are going to be dictating the strength of Shaman after they see play is the marquee card of the Witchwood outside of Baku, and again, it's Hagatha, the Witch. It's an 8 mana hero transformation, essentially, like the Death Knights of the Frozen Throne, but this is the only hero card in the Witchwood, which kind of makes you pay attention right away. So her battle cry on this is deal 3 damage to all minions. So you've got a board clear in there, and it sets up to buy you a little bit of time going into the late game to use her hero power, which is basically anytime you play a minion, you are going to be getting a random shaman spell. This is going to be generating some insane late game value for you. Even though there's some bad shaman spells out there, you're going to have 10 mana every turn, and there's a lot of cards that synergize with playing shaman spells, and there's not a lot of wholly expensive shaman spells. You're going to draw into things like Lightning Storm and Hex and everything, and so you're going to be wanting to, play some reasonably cheap minions along with this, or maybe some Echo minions that are going to be triggering and generating you more spells. This also ties in insanely well with the card that was revealed just a short time ago. The other legendary you should be insanely excited about is Shudderwalk. Shudderwalk is a very potent late game card. 9 mana, 6/6 minion that says Battle Cry, repeat all other battle cries from cards that you've played this game. There's a lot of strong battle cries in the game. There's a lot of strong battle cries in the Shaman class, including Hagatha, which we just witnessed. But if you look to tie this together with something like Serenite Chain Gang, it says Battle Cry, summon a copy of this minion. You're going to be summoning a copy of Shudderwalk. The order of all these battle cries is random, and also all the targets are random as well. But there's enough battle cries in the game that this will be an insane card for the foreseeable future, and you should be excited about pulling the Shudderwalk. Shudderwalk combined with Hagatha might bring the power level of Shaman high enough to where it is competing against Warlock in that value game. Even though it's a little bit less controllable, people are already brewing up decks about how to maximize and go for one-turn kills with the Shudderwalk, how to have 1/1 copies of Shudderwalk in your hand with Grumble, the World Shaker. Shudderwalk seems really good. There's also a lot of cool things going on when you're playing the Shaman deck, a lot of potent cards with things like Blazing Invocation coming out, which is a rare card that says Discover a Battle Cry minion, which can then further your Battle Cry pool. There's the Bog Shaper as well at 7 mana, 4/8. Whenever you cast a spell, draw a minion from your deck. So you're going to be generating a bunch of spells with Hagatha. You're going to be drawing your Battle Cry minions, and you're going to be playing more Shudderwalks. Also, when you think about Shudderwalk 2, you play Zola the Gorgon, and Zola the Gorgon is going to copy your Shudderwalk and give you a copy in your hand, which you can then play again and again and again. And it's going to be a crazy card, whether you're excited to just deck build with it, or whether you're excited to just like net deck and pull some decks that other people have said are good. Shudderwalk is going to be a key component to generating insane late game bomb plays. 2 more cards on the short list. The next card that I wanted to talk about as far as legendaries go was Countess Ashmore. And Countess Ashmore is a 7 mana, 6/6, decent body right there, decent stat line. Battle Cry, draw a Rush, Lifesteal, and Death Rattle from your deck. So you can think of this card somewhat like a Curator. My brother Chris had mentioned to me that, when he first saw this, it was a Curator effect. He's dead on, because you're going to be able to put in the cards that you definitely want to draw with Countess Ashmore. Worth noting that Priest, if they play this, they can draw 2 Obsidian statues, Death Rattle. It's also worth noting, too, that Countess Ashmore will draw Woodcutter's Axe because it has a Death Rattle effect. It'll draw Blood Razor for the warrior. For the Warlock, it will actually draw your Amethyst Spellstone because the lifesteal is inherent in the card. It's not going to draw things like Leeching Poison for you rogues out there for the Kingsbane deck. And it's not going to draw things like Death Knight Jaina. So the actual lifesteal needs to be, or lifesteal, Death Rattle, or Rush needs to be inherent in the card. So this card, any sort of like tutoring effect, getting those, thinning your deck, and also drawing into your powerful minions is good. And also you have a decent body to go along with it to carry you into the late game, and to just generate more tempo and value. This card does it all. I would be super excited if this is the first one that I draw, because this is going to see play for the next 2 years, 100%. All right, and as if our Warlock overlords needed more help, we have Lord Godfrey, which is a Warlock legendary. That's a 7 mana, 4/4. His battle cry reads, deal 2 damage to all other minions. If any die, repeat this battle cry. So Defile is known for being a absolutely insane card. And this is battle cry on a late game stick that comes with a 4/4 body. It's essentially going to wipe their board. And if your opponent's playing Warlock, they're going to wipe your board, and they're going to have a 4/4 left at the end of the day. This, with Hearthstone being a tempo-based game and you investing resources into your board, this is an absolutely devastating effect along the lines of their powerful card, Twisting Nether. This card will see play in nearly every form of like mid to late game control Warlock, and it's just bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. So if you open Lord Godfrey, you should absolutely be pumped, because you probably pulled the best card in this set. And Warlock is one of the best decks out there going into this rotation. So I would look into playing a lot of Warlock if you open Lord Godfrey. And those are the legendaries that I'm most excited about, that I think you should be most excited about going into the Witchwood. Now I want to talk about some epics. And first up, we have an amazing card that will be beneficial for every deck. I think every deck will have a chance to use Voodoo Doll. Now, Voodoo Doll is a 3 mana, 1/1 minion that reads Battle Cry, choose a minion, and then Death Rattle. When Voodoo Doll dies, you're going to be just killing that other minion, your enemy's minion, outright. Now, this is removal, cheap removal, for every deck. Now, Druids can Wrath it, Frostlich Jaina can ping it to get extra value. You're killing this own minion. Warrior is going to be Blood Razoring it, and it just offers great removal. So you can say an easier goodbye to the things like Void Lords, to the things like those Primordial Drakes, to that Obsidian statue. Just farewell. Voodoo Doll is insane, and it should go in nearly every deck. Hard removal like that is just great. Now, even if you can't just kill your Voodoo Doll outright on your own terms, you might be worried about silence running rampant in the game, and then Voodoo Doll gets silenced. But at 3 mana, it's not a huge investment to just threaten it, and for them to use resources to clear the Voodoo Doll and to silence it. Next up, we have a rare card. So you're going to be coming by this one a little bit more often, which is good, because this is also one of the more powerful cards in the set. We have Witchwood Grizzly, 5 mana, 3/12 with Taunt. And the battle cry reads, lose 1 health for each card in your opponent's hand. So the minion is actually losing health, so it'll be dropping down to, if they have 10 cards in their hand, it'll be dropping down to a 3/2 for 5. But against aggro players, where you want that heavy taunt as a silence target, or to just blow up some of their guys, or to stall the game just a little bit, Witchwood Grizzly is great because those aggro decks are usually only going to have 2 or 3 cards in their hand until they divine favor you. But this is also insane if you look at something like the Carnivorous Cube. If you destroy your own Witchwood Grizzly with the Carnivorous Cube, you're ignoring the battle cry. And so you're just getting 2 5-mana 3/12s, which is insane. That's a lot of health to chew through to get to your face to kill you. The other thing worth noting as well is that Master Oakheart decks have seen some play, and Master Oakheart can summon this because it's a 3-attack minion. Another legendary that just didn't quite make the cut for my list, even though it will see play, is Lady in White. Lady White has a battle cry that says cast Inner Fire on every minion in your deck, so you set the attack equal to the health of the minion, and I see it as more of a supplemental play where you're just going to be playing minions that have, like, usually dragons that have high health, and then you're going to bring that attack level for all of your minions up to their health level, which is insane with big bomb cards like Ysera, like Primordial Drake, like the new dragon that came out as well. And Lady in White with Witchwood Grizzly is bonkers. It's a, 12-10, 12-8, 12-12, maybe, for 5 mana. So, seems really good. When you see this high of health on a card, you don't ignore it. There's ways to cheat out that health, and there's ways to cheat out this big of a taunt minion that it might be necessary if we see like a little bit more aggro towards the beginning of the meta game here. The last card that I want to talk about too, which you should be really excited about, is a rare card called Wing Blast, and I think this is one of the more powerful cards that Hunter got in this expansion. So Wing Blast is a 4-mana spell, but you get a discount essentially if a minion died that turn. So you deal 4 damage to a minion for 4 mana, but if a minion died that turn, however that minion died, whether it be yours or theirs, you get to cast a spell that deals 4 damage to a minion for 1 mana. As many people have mentioned before, Hearthstone is a game where minions die a lot and very easily, and as an attacker on your turn, you get to choose how you want your minions to die and whether it's beneficial for you or not, or which minion you'd like to kill on their side and then slap another one with 4 damage. So this card is going to compete with cards like Flanking Strike and even Kill Command in some ways, as Trump had mentioned. But that's the biggest thing, is like Flanking Strike is really good. It allows you to get a body on the board. That's if you're spending it for 4 mana. Something to consider. Anyways, that is a quick rundown of cards that you should be excited about, that you should be excited about opening when you get them. There's a lot of really interesting cards in this expansion, and it's going to be an absolute blast playing in this open meta game as we rotate all these cards out, and people get to be really creative in how they're using their new cards in the Witchwood. So I hope to see you on Hearthstone. I'm looking forward to competing in an upcoming tournament with this new meta as well here in Minnesota. And I look forward to hearing what you guys think are some of the strongest cards coming out in the Witchwood expansion. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. And I'll see you in the tavern.